Good morning and welcome to the Great Transitions Senior Living Seminar Series. Today we're going to be tackling the topic of aging in America, flipping the script or changing the narrative. Aging looks a lot different than it did many years ago, and so we're going to talk about some myths and truths today, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. Great Transitions has been around for quite a while, and I'm really grateful to the panelists that we have today because they're the ones that started Great Transitions. And we wouldn't be here without y'all being here, so I'm really glad that you are here.
And we're glad you're there.
So, for you first-timers, you know, it can be 12 to 18 months before you make a move. It could be 3 to 5 years or more before you make a move. We're going to talk about somebody during our seminar that said it was going to be 10 years before she made a move. But the preparation for that move is what is crucial. Sometimes, though, an event can happen in your life that expedites that process. And so that's why we have these seminars, is so that we can talk about our plan, prepare our plan. We may put our plan on the shelf, but when we need it, we can access our plan. And that's the important part. And we're here, along with our educational partners, to guide you through the entire process. We genuinely believe that helping and guiding seniors in preparing their plans is our greatest responsibility. It's our honor and privilege to care for those who have cared so well for us. So our objective here today is to educate. It's not to sell. It's not to get you to sign up for anything. And through our seminar series, we talk about things legal, financial, medical. We even talked about travel a couple months ago. And we want to bring you information that covers topics that are important to you. So we hope you'll learn a lot and take a lot of good notes today. We're not here to sell anything, but we do have some questions for you. We always ask these. Number one, who's going to be tasked with making the decisions for you when you're no longer able to do so yourself? And will you agree with the decisions that they make? And finally, have you shared your plan with your trusted loved ones or advisors, or as we sometimes call it, your all-star team, right? So those are things to just put in the back of your mind and keep circling back around to those things. So with that said, we're going to dive in to the topic of aging in America. Linda said something in our introductions about standing up at a concert, and then you said, I'm too old to do that anymore. And I'm like, we got to reframe that question, that statement, because you enjoyed the concert, and we got to find a way to get you back to the next one, right? So I don't know what that's going to look like, but we're in the process of reframing a lot of things, and we're going to talk about that today. Positive mindset, super important. How we talk to ourselves. Remember, the brain does not know the difference between a truth and a lie, and we can tell ourselves, I feel great today. I'm moving freely. I have all the energy I need to get around and do the things that I need to do. And as always, this is kind of a broad 30,000-foot view, although we do have some very specific questions to ask. And we encourage you to use your seminar notes page as we go through this, because you'll likely have some questions for Paul and Lynn, like who their pickleball teacher is or things like that, as we go through. But we will have a Q&A program at the end. So with that, we're going to dive into tackling our topic. I want to bring up that picture if we could, real quick. So I took this picture at the beginning of July. This is my good friend David. I was up at our house in the mountains, and with a friend. We were enjoying some mountain time, and the air conditioner went out in the house. Now, this is a house my grandmother built in the late 80s. Yes, it's an original air conditioner because we only use it a few times a year. And so I called my mother and I'm like, something's up with the AC. She said, I'll call David and send him over. And I'm like, okay. So David is their handyman. He's been doing stuff at the house for many years. So I got to talking with David. David's 82 years old. In that picture, he had just turned 82. And we got really fortunate that he could come to the house that day because he had just got off the trail, the Appalachian Trail, where he had been on a 5-day hike. And he came and he fixed our air conditioner, and so I got to talking with him. David had retired from Glad, you know, the plastic wrap people, in his 50s, and he had worked there for like 30 years at that point. And so he was instrumental in the production of the Gladware containers that we all now thrive on, right? So back when those were started, David helped with that project. He retired and he went to school. And he got an HVAC certification, started doing that. I think he got a general contractor's license as well. And so he's still working at 82 years old. He was down in the basement with me. We were defrosting the air handler. Then he's crawling under the house, under the porch, to put Freon in the compressor and do all the things. And I thought to myself, I want my 82 to look kind of like that. So that's what we're going to dive into today. The dictionary defines elderly as being past middle age. Yeah, that's kind of scary, isn't it? So we want to talk about changing the narrative. Actual numbers probably should not be attached to aging. So whether you're 65 or 105, I'm going to ask you guys, what's the definition of elderly to you?
Well, it's definitely not right past middle age. That's for sure. Put that out there. I don't agree with that definition at all. You know, we look at aging as more of people being in certain stages rather than their age dictating what they can and cannot do. And elderly certainly is one of those stages, right? But I think it probably comes, to me, it probably comes much later. We also talk about that a quick way to talk about the stages as we age is there's a stage called the go-go stage where people are really very, very active. They're traveling, they're seeing grandkids, they're doing everything they want to do. The next stage is called the slow-go stage where things may be changing a little bit. Maybe some health issues are coming into play. And so they're not maybe as active as they originally were. And then that next stage after that is the no-go stage, where they're really maybe having bigger physical issues, maybe there's some cognitive issues coming in, and so things definitely slow down. That's what I see as elderly. Even into the slow-go stage, I don't really consider that elderly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people are staying active much longer
Yeah.
in their lives. We're living longer. And I think that changes, you know, how we look at that.
Yeah.
You know, Lynn and I did this for a long time, and we were the person. I'm having a hard time not being there. So I was there.
Well,
But-
and I jumped right into the questions, so maybe you want to expand your answer a little bit, because I didn't even ask you to introduce yourselves. Because
And you
there
didn't
are
ask us about our music either.
there are some people that don't
That
know
don't know us.
Paul and
Right.
Lynn Henderson here in this room. Many of you do. But
For me.
No, go ahead.
But I'm Paul and Lynn Henderson. We started Great Transitions because we were dealing with this with our family. It started when I was 42 years old. My father had dementia. He was 70. He was a practicing physician when that all started. And I just remember saying to Lynn one day, I don't want anyone to ever have to go through what we went through, because we didn't know what we were doing. And we were in the real estate world, and we started working on this. We got certified through the Senior Real Estate Institute and started this seminar series. And then we found this brilliant woman named Beth Lagulo, who took over the seminar series, and we went to work for Senior Real Estate Institute and taught the coursework for people to become certified. We did that around the country for several years. We're wrapping that up now. We won't be doing it after this year. So that's who we are. But to your question, we kind of now are living it, because before we were teaching it, and now that we're retired, we look at this world very differently. But I remember when Lynn and I would go out to meet with a family, we would say on the way in, remember, age is a number and looks are deceiving. And that, David, is a perfect example. I would have sworn he was in his 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that young lady with him.
Keep talking, Henderson, keep talking.
But as we age, there's certainly psychological changes that happen, and those are brought on by how we perceive the world. Physical changes. I wear hearing aids now. I didn't do that 5 years ago. Well, actually, I started 5 years ago. But I think to a huge extent, it's how we look at it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We talked about the slow go into no-go as we inch towards 100, and I read a book. We were talking about this, it was probably 15 years ago. I read a book that said there are people alive today that will live to be 125 to 150. And I'm like, I don't know, is that possible? And now that I do what I do, it's absolutely possible, right? I'm planning to live that long, so I gotta make some plans to keep everything moving, but.
You better be talking to Sean.
Yeah. Indeed. But we think of, oh, I'm getting old or whatever, and we talk a lot in real estate about limiting beliefs in our business and things like that. Beliefs guide our thinking. How do you both see yourselves as changing the narrative as aging is defined?
I think we're at the best time of our life, quite honestly. So many things are behind us. Our children are raised. The things that were those responsibilities, right? And we talk about, and you talk about this, the analogy the doctor used with your father about his
At your level of wisdom?
level of wisdom. That's it. And I think we've reached a level of wisdom based on all of our experiences. I mean, I look back on the world that changed and what my first job was and our first date and how our world has evolved out of that with children and family and business and what we did through this. And now Lynn and I travel. This is our thing, and we get out and we meet the world. And we literally could not do that when we were working full time.
Okay.
So we're able to do things we never could do before.
Okay.
And play pickleball.
And play pickleball. I gotta get on that.
I think that at this stage of our life, like Paul said, a lot of the stressors have gone away. And I think that we particularly, through our work with seniors, made some decisions about 8 years ago, probably about 10 years ago, that have helped us to have a simpler life now. And that has kind of given us the ability to do more of what we want now. And so, yeah, I would say this is a great time in our lives, definitely.
And we learned because we were teaching this, right?
Right.
And so we learned from everybody sitting here and what they were going through, and we tried to apply that back to our lives.
Yep.
Well, you guys look great. I mean, you look good before, but I think you look really good now.
She was looking at me when she said that.
Oh. So how we see ourselves at a certain age affects how we act and how we engage. We've talked in our seminars before about you can have a 75-year-old that's running marathons and one that's in their no-go years. You know, it runs that gambit.
And we've got a Warren Buffett.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about your parents and your grandparents a little bit. How did they present themselves, and how do you see yourself compared to how you viewed them at the time? As you're navigating what was probably their later years, your life looks a little different, but they set a good groundwork for you.
Yeah, I think my parents definitely set a good groundwork for me. They were very active all through their 70s, and my dad was playing golf until right before he passed away, so that was a blessing for him for sure. And that was his thing. He played golf 3 or 4 times a week, so he was able to keep that up all through his life. And my mom kept active with friends and playing bridge and those kinds of things. She wasn't very physically active though, and I think that kind of came back to be a problem in her later years, definitely.
So you've changed.
Yes.
You've got a pretty robust physical activity schedule.
I do, yes. And I saw that and how much it affected her, just her general ability, because physically she deteriorated. And so we have really tried to up our physical activity, and I think we're really pretty active now, much more than in earlier years, and we have time now, so that really helps. And it's just fun. I mean, how many of you have ever played pickleball? Yeah? It's great. And you meet a lot of people, it's very social. I mean, it's a great outlet. But we do other things as well, and I think, you know, we want to stay healthy in all areas. We want to keep a good group of friends because our social lives are so important too. And I think we've very strategically have tried to broaden that group of friends. Whether it's, you know, we've been able to do it through where we live now. You can do it through classes. I mean, I'm taking different classes as well, and you have to kind of put yourself out there a little bit. If you're not the most, you know, outspoken person there, and try and meet some people and develop friendships and relationships, because that's so important. And then physically and mentally, keeping yourself doing the best you can with those things for as long as you can.
Right. You guys always walked every morning.
Yeah.
This morning,
You're still doing that.
this morning we
You're
did.
playing pickleball.
Yeah.
You're going to yoga.
Yoga.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Well, we were on a trip last year, and we were waiting for something, and we met this couple, and the lady was saying, "I can't wait to get back because I've missed pickleball. I got to get back. I play 3 times a week." And then she told, how old was she?
Oh, 85, 86, something
Oh my
like that.
goodness.
And I said, I'm going to go learn to play pickleball. So we have stayed active. We always were active. My first career was in sports medicine, so I was very, very active doing that. And our vacations were always going somewhere and going hiking every day. But my mother was swimming and earning blue ribbons when she was in her 70s in master swimming. She was extremely active. And so that was an example. My father was very active until his dementia caught up with him. He was a racquetball player.
Okay.
And so every night after he had office hours, he would go over to the YMCA and play racquetball.
Yeah. And I think that physical component does so much for our brain, helps us to sleep better, all of those things. makes our bones stronger.
Yes, yeah.
To your point with your mom.
And I think, the reason I took up yoga, I had done it years ago and had, kind of slacked off with it. I think falls are so detrimental to us as we get older. And doing yoga now is a lot different than doing it 10 years ago. And I find that I'm improving, which is good, because balance is so important.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of, I'll put a plug in for the cities and the counties that have senior centers or community centers, and they do all kinds of classes and things there. Take advantage of that, because where I go, they have they have classes every day that can help you with your physical activities. They have other things as well, arts and crafts and cards and all kinds of things. And you don't have to spend a lot of money either. You don't have to go to all the fitness places and pay a monthly fee. There's a lot of other opportunities out there. It's people that are my age and older, and everybody's very nice and welcoming, and I've really enjoyed it. And I feel like that's gonna help with balance and all those things to kind of hold off
Right,
the issues of falls.
right.
Another thing we learned is, I think we all have we talked about this the other day, a freshman in high school attitude. It's all new.
Mm-hmm.
What are they gonna do? Are they gonna talk to me? Are they gonna like me? Am I gonna be embarrassed? And I remember, recently we just kind of picked up pickleball in the last months, and we were taking a lesson. And I'm thinking, oh, these people are just gonna make me look horrible. I'm gonna be so bad. And this young lady came up to me. She's probably in her late 20s, early 30s. She said, "Please don't make me look bad today." And I'm going, whoa, I feel good.
I love it, I love it.
And she was just as bad as me.
Well, and I think pickleball is one of those sports that is very levels the
It
playing
does,
field
yes.
for a lot of
Yeah.
people. So don't be afraid to try something
That's right.
new. I think we talked about the physical being so important. I'd like to switch to mindset. There's a lady that I know I've met out in Oklahoma City, Maryland. I can't think of her last name, but she is in her late 70s, and she's involved with the Council on Aging or that type of organization there in Oklahoma City. And she said, I remember a quote, she said, "I hate it when people say I'm having a senior moment, because that just makes me feel old." She says, "I say, I'm buffering, just a minute."
I like that.
Yeah. So to me, that's mindset, right?
Yeah,
She
it
is choosing to flip the script a little bit and change it. So how does somebody work on changing their mindset to the positive when they're talking about aging and, I don't know, are my documents in order and do I have another doctor's appointment and all that stuff? How do we work on the most important organ in our body, that between our ears?
We talk, I think all of us talk about things we do. We don't talk about abstract concepts as a rule. And so do things. And then you're gonna talk about it. We play pickleball, we talk about it. We travel, that's what we talk about. We go to doctors, but we don't make a big deal about it because that's just part of life. I mean, when you went to the dentist twice a year, 20 years ago, I didn't go to work the next day and go, "Hey, went to the dentist yesterday."
That's like that Geico commercial,
I went in
don't
and
be your parent.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I went and said, "Hey, boy, what a great backpacking trip we had this weekend with the Scouts." So
That's a good point.
we tend to talk about
Yeah.
travel because we're doing a lot of it,
Mhm.
and we talk about going to so it's positives that we talk about.
Yeah,
I don't
I like
think
that.
we really want to talk about the bad stuff.
Right. I mean, you have a trusted few friends that you need to support you in those times. But to your point, you're choosing your own narrative.
Right. When we when we travel, we don't get up in the morning and go, oh my God, it's gonna be 6 miles today, we're gonna walk. At the end of the day, we look at the step counter and go, whoa, we walked that far. But we say, oh, okay, what are we gonna see today? Where are we gonna go? When are we gonna get there?
Gotcha.
And so we get up this morning and said, we're gonna walk. And we took a route and we got back and we walked 2.5 miles, but we didn't go, oh, it's gonna be 2.5 miles, it's gonna be hot, it's gonna be. So I think it's having a positive outlook is really the important thing.
Love that. Lynn?
And I think that gratitude comes into play. I think that we all have things to be very appreciative of and thankful for, and we're blessed in many, many ways. Just the fact that we can all sit here together today.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I think, carries over into your mindset in a more positive way. Yeah. And yes, we all have things, and we have, we have negative things that happen to us and things that happen in our families or our own health and those kinds of things, but you can choose not to focus on it and to try to, it's a part of your life, but we're going to look at some of the other parts of your life as well.
Yeah. I have a friend that she is not a big journaler, so she just journals in bullet points. But every morning it's 3 things she's grateful for. And every evening before she goes to bed, it's 3 things she's grateful for. And that helped her to kind of turn around her mindset, especially when she was dealing with some of the circumstances of life that we all have to deal with from time to time. Let's talk a little bit about the doctors. How many of you have been to the doctor and they say, well, at your age, blah, 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 right? So whatever that age is, 57, 75, 82, 115, how do you handle it when you walk in and the doc says, well, you need to be on this drug or that drug because you're X years old?
You're the one. Advocate.
Well, I think you have to be your own advocate. And if you have someone to go to some of those doctor visits with you, that can be very helpful as well. They say that by the time you're hitting late 70s, early 80s, you ought to have someone going with you. And that is more the idea that there's another set of ears to hear what's being said. But in reference to their attitude, I think you have to say something. There may be other options out there for whatever your problem is that you're wanting to get help for.
But doesn't the doctor know best? I mean, he went to school.
He did go to school.
She did go to school.
She went to school, but they don't know you that well, maybe. And you have to be able to say, well, now wait a minute. What are the options out there? Are there different things that I can do that might improve this situation? And ask the questions to get a better answer. I think you just have to not let them try to kind of push you aside and not give you the information that you're there for. When you go, we do this too, and have for years, writing down what questions do we want to get answered today.
Before you go.
Before we go. Because you get in there and you have a very short period of time and you forget. Other things come up and they'll start talking about something and then you forget what your questions were. So, I think that's very helpful as well.
I say to them, did you have to put that in front of the sentence? At your age, for your age? I literally say that to them. Do you have to put that in front of the sentence? The other thing, and I've come from a little different world. My grandfather's a doctor. My father's a doctor. Our son is a doctor. Now, we drive our son crazy because I call him and say, Matthew, I need you to help me. And he goes, Dad, I'm a pediatrician, not a geriatrician. and I say, it's not that different. We're just bigger. So I don't be intimidated, and I will put a plug in for something. Advent Health Wellness 65 plus is a practice. You must be on Medicare to go there. And so they only deal with people who are on Medicare, so 65 or older, and they only see 10 or 12 patients a day. So you
Wow.
get all the attention in the world.
Wow.
Lynn and I have gone there for many years, and we know the doctor
Well, not
extremely.
many.
Lynn hasn't gone there for many years, maybe you have.
Well, more than 3. See, I'm being positive. And we go in and, okay, how was your trip? How was this? Are you still playing pickleball? Her daughter's a sophomore at Florida State. We know that. So it's a much more personal approach to medicine, and it's a very, very positive approach to medicine. And she no longer says at your age.
No, they don't say that. And the other thing is when you call, you actually get someone who answers the phone. So,
You see the same doctor every time you went?
yeah. There's a group and then you kind of pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless the other thing they'll do there is they get you in that day if you call first thing in the morning with an issue, then you may not get that physician, but
they'll
in
see
your
you.
they'll see you though. But
That's
in your
awesome.
regular appointments, yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about lifestyle. A lot of the people in this room are considering moving to a senior living community. You know, and oftentimes we hear, Nicole and I will sit down with people and they're just like, I don't want to go to one of those places. And usually the people that say that haven't gone on our community tours, so they haven't seen how nice they are, because I'm ready to go tomorrow, as soon as I qualify, I think. But you guys made an interesting decision. You chose to downsize twice. That, to me, initially sounds like a lot of work.
It's spread out over a lot of years.
Okay, okay. So what led you down this path of choosing to make that decision? So you were in a home that you'd been in for 25 years.
Yep.
So many wonderful memories, raised the kids there, great Orlando location. And you're like, nope, we're gonna go live in a condo with no grass and,
And no exterior maintenance and no worries.
okay.
And don't
What-
worry about a tree coming down in a hurricane.
Yeah.
So what was the driving force behind that, and how long are you gonna be in the condo?
So I would say that the driving force behind it was that we're planners. And I think that most of the people probably in here like to plan. That's why you're here. You're education based and you're open to getting this information and hopefully doing something with it. Through our work with seniors, we saw how people get stuck in their homes. And we didn't want to do that. And we also looked at what did we want our life to be like in 10 years, in 15 years? Did we want to still be in the house with all of the work that's involved in owning a home? Or did we want a simpler life? And so about 10 years ago, we made the decision that we did want a simpler life in our future. And we had lived in that home many, many years, had raised our children there, but we just knew that there was something else we wanted that was going to suit us better as we aged. We were obviously too young at that point to go to a senior living community, but we knew there had to be a middle ground, and so we moved to a condo about 8 years ago. We took a couple of years there to kind of do some things to our home that we thought would help it sell better when that time came.
While you were still living in the home?
While we were still living in it.
Okay.
And our plan at the time was thinking we'd be in the house maybe another 5 years. Well, we were actually on a trip when Hurricane Irma came through in 2017, and the house got damaged. And when we got home, we had to call our son and get him to go over and, do that, take care of things for us, which he did. But when we got back and we're dealing with that, and it wasn't bad damage, I should say, we decided, why don't we just go move now? Let's speed up that time frame a little bit. So we did. We got the house on the market, I think, within 6 weeks of coming home from that trip. I mean, we were on it. And of course, there's always, when you're doing that kind of a move, it's like, okay, where are we going to move to? We have to find that place too. And things really just fell into place for us. I think it was meant to be. I really do. And we're very happy in our condo, and we've, fixed it up and made it what we want it to be. And we have a different lifestyle with that. And we can travel. That was one of our goals too, was that we knew we wanted to travel in these years. And living in a condo and not having the house to worry about has made that a much simpler process for us.
Yeah. Paul, what's your prep when you guys are taking a trip now? What do you do to the house to get ready to go away for 6 weeks?
It's hurricane season,
Yeah.
so we have to take the furniture off the balcony.
Okay. What's that, a couple of chairs?
It's 3 chairs.
Okay.
And
And a little table
and
and chairs.
then when we leave, either we turn the water off or they'll turn it off for us.
Okay.
And we empty the ice maker and turn it off.
Okay.
And we lock the front door. And then we lock the front door.
Yeah.
And then we're done. Oh, I have to go on the app and set the air conditioner, the HVAC, to
Okay.
a higher temperature.
Yeah.
And we're done. And when we get back, we got to put the furniture back on the balcony. And then we're done. And we kind of joke, we were on a trip this spring and we were coming back and I said, okay, who's going to clean up the yard? You going to do it or I have to do it?
Yeah.
And when we looked at this, as Lynn said, we were trying to simplify our life because we knew that would allow us to do more things. Now, Lynn and I have always wanted to travel, and we've always wanted to travel abroad. And we lived in a home that it was a home. It required maintenance, and it was expensive. And how many of you gotten out of Home Depot for under $300? And yeah, because you had to buy a can of paint, and that cost $100.
Yeah,
But
it does.
the joke now is if I go to Home Depot, I have to call somebody and ask them where it is, because I actually had to go to Home Depot last week, and I didn't know where to find what I was looking for. But we have a background where we kind of try to disprove things, and so we were disproving that going to a condo was going to work. And one of it was a financial, because we heard that all the time in our work with people. Oh, condos are ridiculous. You got to pay those HOA fees, and you got to pay this and that, and they have assessments. Well, we kind of go on a trip a year for free. The money we save on staying there. Our
Okay.
utility bill went from many $100s to $100, as an example.
Right.
We don't put a roof on it. We don't paint the outside.
Yeah.
All those things. So we found it was that way. And the other thing is it's communal living. We hadn't been in communal living since Lynn was in college in a dorm.
Right, so a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to go back to living in like an apartment lifestyle. I did that in my 20s.
Well, the interesting thing is we know more people in the building we live in today after we were there for 60 days than we knew in our neighborhood after 25 years. The
Wow.
neighborhood moved.
It changed.
We started out as young people, we ended out as older people.
Mm-hmm.
We had nothing in common with the people across the street because they weren't hanging out with 65-year-olds. They were hanging out with the 30-year-olds who both had young children. And kind of the joke where we live is that, and I guess because it's our influence, we run people off, I don't know. But they're moving, a lot of our people in our community are moving to the continuing care communities in Orlando.
Well, it's that two-step downsize.
Exactly.
Right.
So our building is full of people doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
And we, to answer your other part of that question, I think in the next 5 years, we will move, and we've already working on the community where we think we're gonna go. We've toured it many times as potential residents, no longer in your position.
Sure. In talking about going to a senior living community, I think there is this mindset of, oh, I'm just gonna be sitting in a rocking chair knitting. Is your lifestyle, is your travel lifestyle gonna change much if you live in a senior living community?
I don't see that it would change at all. I think that what we have found in our condo community is that, and it's not a 55 plus, it's just a regular condo, let me say that too. And so there's all ages there, and there's not a lot of young families, I'll say that, but working people and couples and professional couples and all that. And there's a good group of us that are retired. So there's a lot of activities that I never participated in because I was working, and so now I have the ability to do that. And so I've learned to play mahjong, for any of you that know how to play. It's fascinating and a lot of fun. And there's activities there that kind of have helped us to meet more people and to get, become more part of the social life there. And I think that's what the communities are so good at. They excel at providing outlets and activities for everybody, no matter what your interest is. You can probably find something there that's going to suit you. And that social part of your life is so important. So I feel like our move to this condo has kind of helped us in, one, getting used to having neighbors and seeing them, maybe more often, definitely more often than we did in the house, and having more of a social life built around where we live.
Yeah.
Before, in the house, our social life was friends from work or friends from our kids' activities.
Who might have
and
lived
those-
across town.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
were all over.
So it was
Yeah, I was
harder
just-
to coordinate.
I was just gonna say that. We had to get in the car.
Yeah,
Now I
Yeah.
walk 2 doors down, knock on the door and say, Frank, you wanna go get coffee?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And we've talked numerous times in these seminars about how important community is to thriving and living vibrantly.
And, when we move, because it's not a question if, it's when we move to a community, I guess one thing that will change is that the refrigerator will be much more empty.
Oh,
To
that's
start,
true.
because we're eating down the refrigerator right now before
And
we
the
leave.
dishwasher won't be used as
That's
much.
right.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. So, one of the questions we always ask at the beginning of the seminar is, have you created your plan and have you communicated your plan to your, whether that's your trusted loved ones, your all-star team? How did you communicate this plan to your kids? And were they just devastated that you were leaving the home that they grew up in?
We decided, as I told the story earlier, back in 2017, that we were going to do the move. But a couple of years before that, our younger son was getting ready to move out of state, and we decided, well, if we're going to talk to the kids about what our plans are and what we want to do, we better do it now while he's still here. So we invited them both to come over, and it was just them. I mean, this is how we did it. We did it with just our sons, not the wives, and there were grandkids at that point too. And just talk to them about what our plans were and what we were thinking about. And they were not, I think they were surprised. I think they were not negative about it though. I don't think, one son was getting ready to move out of state anyway, so it wasn't like he was so tied to being here. And the other son, I think, understood that we had to live our life the best way for us. And if this was the decisions we were making, he was all for it. But I do think they were surprised. We used that opportunity to also talk about people in the family. They had questions about different relatives and unpacking some of those stories. and
Skeletons in the closet.
yeah, not bad ones, but you
Well.
know, they had some questions, so we went through some of that with them as well. We've talked, and I know you probably have as well, about the Conversation Project, and I don't know if you all are familiar. Some of you who are longtime attendees probably remember hearing about that. And the Conversation Project is about talking to your family, your loved ones, about what you want, more about your end-of-life type issues. But we kind of took that format, if you will, and talked to our kids about, not necessarily that so much, although we did talk about that as one of the topics, but more about what our plans were and what we wanted to do as we aged.
And I think you have you've lived in the area for a long time. You had friends that when you told them what you were doing, were they like, "Are you crazy?"
That's interesting.
Old people, did they say things like old people move to condos? Or
It was,
communities?
how can you give up your house? It's just the way you want it to be. You have a great neighborhood. You da-da-da-da-da. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm gonna regress a minute on that, because one thing we didn't talk about with parents, Lynn mentioned her parents were big planners. And so they had planned to move to a community, and they had not, but when Lynn's father died, he died rather unexpectedly. Her mother moved within 6 months
Oh, yeah.
to a community, and was there the rest of her life and thrived while she was there. My parents were not planners. My father developed dementia. I had to start getting on an airplane and flying to Illinois to take care of him. My mother, again, was not a planner. My parents were divorced. And however, we convinced her, she would swear against her will, but to move to a community, and then the rest of her life was the best life she could have lived. So we saw the impact of that. The conversation with the two boys, how many of you have boys? Well, you'll picture this. They come over the house, and the younger one left the floor about 10 feet from the couch, did a 180 degree, landed on the couch, and I'm thinking, for God's sake, nothing changes with these guys. And he, out of his mouth, said, "So, I hear Dad's coming out of the closet." And I said, "No, but Uncle Bill." And so we did talk about those things with them.
Awesome. I think that's great. And we, just having the support of those that you care about as you make these changes, I think is critical.
And we didn't get a lot of support from friends. However, we said, and the point of what I was saying there about parents is that we've seen this go
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
And we know which way we're not gonna go.
Yeah.
And so the moving to the condo to us was a very logical step. We had a friend just recently who, just over the weekend, they had a parent they were caring for who was living in a community, and the parent has died, and made the comment, "I'll never go in one of those places again in my life." And I said, "Well, I don't know how you're gonna come see us." And because we're the planners, but these folks are convinced they're gonna live in their 2-story, 4,000 square foot house on the lake the rest of their life with no problems.
Wow. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna skip down to question 9.
Okay.
So this is kind of a wrap-up question. And I think you brought some really good points. And if you need a magnifying glass to read that, we'll provide that in the seminar follow-up. But changing the narrative starts with each one of us here in the room, for sure. Let's talk about some action items that you have brought to challenge us so that we can begin to bring aging into a more positive light.
Well, I think in talking about what we do as a lead up to this, and Lynn probably covered this better than me, but our life has changed so significantly in what we do. I remember going on trips with our children. We do a family trip every other year, and everybody comes. So there's 13 of us, if you can imagine that. And it's down to age 5 now. So we're kind of beyond the pre-breakfast blow-ups, panics, right? But in the past, our daughters-in-law would say to me, you know, I don't know why you're here because all you do is work. You're working constantly. Well, we had a business to run. And last year, my son came up to me and said, Dad, pardon my French, but Dad, you're bored on your ass. And I said, well, Beth's working. Beth has the business now. It's not our business anymore. And he gave me a book, and that was a year ago, July, and I've read 47 books since then. I didn't read before because reading was work. I read to learn what we were going to do. I read to learn the seminars. I read because we were meeting with a difficult client and we needed to do some research, that kind of stuff. Now I read for pleasure. My memory's improved. I'm more relaxed. My blood pressure's, I went in the other day and my blood pressure was over 120 and I said, well, you need to let me sit down for a minute because I just fought traffic.
Okay,
And I'll go in and sometimes it's 110 over 60.
okay.
And we've lost weight, we're exercising, so our life has totally changed. And I think it's because we've embraced it. And a big thing is, it starts with the whole ageism and the language around ageism.
Yeah.
We don't watch the news. Rarely do we watch the news, but there's so many ageist comments on the news, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Well,
he's
TV
old,
in
what do you
general.
expect?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What would you like to highlight, Lynn?
I think, you know, we've mentioned many times already today about gratitude and staying positive and focusing more on the positive sides of your life. I think all those things will make our aging a better situation, a better process for us. And there's still so much positive in it. It's not all negative, and I think we just have to focus on that part of it.
Yeah. I think the activities, the meeting of new people that you're doing, some of it is intergenerational, so you're getting that balance and conversations and things of that nature, and it's just keeping you fresh. I have to say, when we got off our Zoom call, Nicole and I looked at each other and we're like, they're doing amazing. Like, wow. We really, we're proud of you.
Well, thank you.
And excited for the vibrant life that you're living and that you came to share with us today. So I'm sure some of you probably have some questions. Partners, do we have some microphones? And we've got a question right behind you there, Melanie. Elaine's got a question.
Get the first question.
Okay, yeah.
So, greetings, is it on?
No.
I've turned it on, but it don't.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, so, if I could go back to one of the first charts that you showed about the different stages of aging, like the go-go versus the no-go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna assume that in your work, you've probably encountered couples that might be in different stages, or at least perceive themselves to be in different stages. And I'm just curious what kind of advice you might have offered people in that situation.
That's a great question. When you're dealing with a couple that might be in two different stages. One might be a go-go and one might be a slow-go or a no-go. How do you navigate that, or what advice might you have?
Well, and it's not always physical. We have friends who are retired or are retiring, where one of them is I want to go do things, and the other one literally doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And so it creates tension with the couple. We ran into it very frequently in the business side of things. I think that if it gets to a situation where there is a physical limitation or an intellectual or cognitive limitation, the person with the lesser skills tends to drive the boat, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what the family's going to do long term. However, I will say, we work with, and there's a family here we know very, very well that moved to a community, And one of the family members had cognitive issues, and it was the wife, and the husband was spot on with things other than the stress of dealing with the issues with his wife. And moving to the community was frankly the best thing he ever did. Now, it was the best thing he did for his wife. It was the best she could be in that situation. And when his wife passed away about a year later, he really didn't need to be there. From a physical, cognitive limitation standpoint, he chose to stay. And he's thriving today. And doing things he was unable to do before when his wife was still alive.
And I think one of the things that I learned as I watched my parents, because my mother was my father's caregiver. We waited too long to get help. I have in our real estate business, one of our coaches says your greatest superpower is the ability to ask for help. And we get a little stubborn sometimes that I can do this, I can be that person, and it wore my mom out, and she's having to rest now to come back. So I think not being afraid to ask for help, or to ask how do I get help, what help is out there, is a big thing too. So, do we have any other questions? Down front, or, well, we'll get you in the back since Melanie's there, and then Sean.
Yes. Once you chose to move to a condo, how'd you go about finding one that met your needs?
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, how did you find a
Well,
condo? They're gonna tell you something they didn't mention earlier.
Hire Beth?
Well, at that point, you didn't.
no, well, we were in the business still, so, I think because of our work, we had seen a lot of places. We had seen a lot of condominium communities. And just like going and looking at senior living communities, going to these communities and even looking at the physical structure and walking into any clubhouses and those kinds of amenities, you get a feel for it. So we had a lot of information to begin with, I have to say. And you get that just from going out and looking. If you're interested in that, Beth can help you because she's been in a lot of those as well. I had a client and they were interested in this particular condo community, so I helped them. We went and looked at half a dozen or however many it was, and they decided on which one they wanted to make an offer on. It all worked out and they moved in. And I remember coming back home after taking them the first time. I had been in this community one time, but many years before. So it wasn't necessarily on my radar. But when I got home, I said, I could live there. I really liked this place. And so when it came that we started being more interested, we kind of gravitated to this community, pretty early. But we did look around. We went and visited some other places just to see how they were set up and what it was like. And so you have to just go take a look.
Well,
like
and I like
anything else.
your MO of why wouldn't I go here? Like, I want to find a reason to not move to this place.
And the other thing Paul kind of mentioned but didn't get into the details on, we actually sat down with a pad of paper and said, okay, what are our expenses living in the house? And everything, put down everything,
Including Home Depot.
Well, yeah, but even including, okay, we're gonna have to put a roof on in 5 years. What is that gonna cost us? We should be saving so much a month to go towards that. How about the air conditioner and the water heater and all those things? And then we looked at what our HOA fee was gonna be and what was that going to cover. And so we did a side-by-side comparison to see if it made financial sense as well.
And I do joke about, but it's not a joke. We're sitting here for free. We made this trip on the money we saved not living in the house.
Okay.
But to your point though, when you do that kind of looking, you want to work with somebody in the business who is senior centric, and there's 10 of them in Central Florida. And the one who's best is standing right here, because otherwise somebody else would be standing there.
Okay, you answered my follow-up question.
Cindy had a question, I think,
Yeah,
Sean.
just a quick question. Thank you, first of all, for sharing so much. It was very insightful. And I wanted to find out, it's kind of a little bit personal side, but when you sold the house, did you then buy the condo or just lease the condo?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. So are you renting where you're at, or did you purchase the condo?
We purchased.
You did?
However, when we moved in, I will tell you, I'll rephrase that. My spouse chose to do it ourselves. And I remember standing at there and looking at her and saying, you know, we have people who do this. Why did we do, now we didn't physically move ourselves. We had movers and things. But we should have hired the people that we use to just do it all for us. Like
To
everything.
pack and unpack
The
you.
pack, everything. And
We
because.
had people pack, we did not have people unpack.
But it was a monstrous task.
It's a big
doing it.
task, yeah. I
And-
won't
and-
do that again.
No, we had this
We had
conversation
a-
this morning.
But to that point, you've already downsized
We
once.
have, yes,
So
and
this
that's-
next downsizing
Won't
is
be
gonna be
anywhere like
super
the first-
easy,
Yeah,
right?
It will be.
Yeah, yeah.
it'll be a
And I
lot
think,
easier.
Well,
I mean, there's still, you know, I tell people this when we had consultations with them, you tend to fill the space you have.
yeah,
So whether it's 2,000 square feet or 4,000 square feet, it's full. So I am so good, though, I have to say, he might not agree with me, but I feel like I really do clear out. You know, I go through closets even now because I don't have the same storage space I had in the house. And, you know, over the months, you'll kind of accumulate things, and then I'm like, oh, no, gotta get rid of this.
yeah.
So I go through and I have, our youngest grandchild is almost 5 now, and it's like, okay, what toys can I get rid of? You know, get them off to go have another life with someone else.
And please take this in the spirit it's meant. We would go meet with folks, and we'd come back and go, we're cleaning another closet today. After seeing that place, we're gonna clean.
Yeah.
True story.
True story, that's right.
Anybody else have a question? Paul and Lynn are gonna stick around for a few minutes before they have to get to their next fun activity.
I have mahjong this afternoon.
Oh,
so-
mahjong.
I'm gonna say that Paul instilled the exercise and adventure into my son when he was in his scout troop.
Oh, well, that's nice. And he's still exercising adventures. You are, yes,
Yeah, I don't go up mountains with a 50-pound backpack anymore. I got that.
But
Crazy
I
thing out
will
of my
say,
But
I
we still
am
hike.
super envious. I'm going on a 5-day trip this weekend, and I'm struggling because I really want to try and do carry-on. They go to Europe for 6 weeks with a carry-on piece of luggage, and I'm just like, that's amazing.
We don't rent cars.
That's
There's
amazing.
exception. We travel by train, and we have a
Public
22-pound suitcase and a 8-pound backpack.
I love it. I want to be like you when I grow up. Did we try and sell you anything today? Awesome, awesome. But you've got some challenges, especially today, I think. And so I want to encourage you to take on your seminar notes page your action item that you're going to do because of what you learned today. Could be a conversation with family, friends. It could be a call to a travel agent or to the senior center to find out when yoga or Pilates is. Anything like that, but take some action. We're going to be back on September 17th with another fun seminar, so we hope that you all will come and join us then. You are our connection to the world. To those of you that brought first-time guests, thank you very much. To those of you that didn't, We're taking note, and we want you to bring first-time guests next time.
Can I have a related question?
If you make it quick, Carl. Sean's gonna run over there.
Did you ever consider talking to your children, because all of those years you've piled up stuff, and asked them what they would like?
Oh,
That is a very simple answer. They don't want our stuff. And the answer is, no, they didn't want
They
anything.
didn't want anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And we had some very nice artwork. We had sets of china, nothing.
Such as maybe like a stamp collection or a leather jacket?
They
of
don't,
yours?
well, I certainly encourage you to offer it, but don't be insulted when they don't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And expect that if you give it to them and you go to their house.
It's
there's a
gone.
good chance they got rid of it.
Yeah.
On
They
your
took it just to
blue-
be nice.
On your blue seminar sheets, please be sure to write your name. I forgot to remind you to do that. And we'll take those as you leave. We do value your feedback, so please fill that out. And you can sign up for next month's seminar there. We always have a closing quote. George Bernard Shaw said, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. So let's go play." And we'll see you guys next month.